Excellent. Well, welcome everybody. I want to welcome you. More people are joining. This is awesome. Um, we are setting up to do the work on the My Money Rewritten workshop. Now, it would be very helpful to me that if you do have a question or a comment, that you save it to the end. But if it's a burning question that you don't want to work to save to the end, just raise your hand. Or if you don't see me, or if you don't, the screen has gone dark for any reason, just raise your hand on the reaction button. I hope you all know how to do that. So let's get started. Today's we're going to be talking about rewriting your money story. I expect the presentation will take about 45 minutes and we will have time for questions at the end. So I hope you can sit back and enjoy the conversation. I also want you to know that this is a very confidential place. So when you do ask questions, I will stop recording and let's be respectful of everybody. Everybody has their stuff that comes up in this workshop. So I just want everybody to feel comfortable and trust that whatever happens here stays here. Nothing is going to be shared on social media or anything like that. So let's get started. What my goals for today are for each of you to walk away with a new belief in what's possible. I do believe that everybody can make significant changes in their life. Everything can change. So I want you to walk away with that new belief. I also want you to feel empowered that you're in charge and you can make changes in your life. That means a new way of being and a new way of seeing your life. As a storyteller, I'll be talking about some of these things throughout the presentation. I also want you to feel inspired and hopeful for a new way of being. That's important to me. And I hope that's what you'll walk away with today. So here's the crux of it. What we are going to talk about today is your relationship with money. I'm a firm believer that one of the ways to change anything in your life is to understand and become aware of what's holding you back. As a storyteller, I firmly believe that when you understand the stories, the narratives that run in your life, then you can start taking them apart and rewriting them. Another clue to understand your stories is your what they call somatic responses. How does your body respond? Do you get upset tummy? Do you clench and hold your breath? When you understand that these are clues that your body is helping you understand what your story is, it's easy to make some changes, and we'll talk about how to do that. A question to consider is, are you ready to see a new way of dealing with money? And that takes you into changing your relationship with money, and we'll talk about that a lot. Little bit about me. I am at the heart of it all a storyteller. I'm an award-winning author, best-selling author. I work with people helping them understand their narratives and how to change them. It is my firm belief that life was never meant to be this painful. Life was intended to be filled with joy and love and abundance. And when we're come into this world, we are pure. We're pure and clear. But over time, we build up resistances. We build up issues that make us struggle with how we see ourselves. I work with you to help you start taking those stories apart, and you can get back to this pure form of accepting a beautiful and a deserving, worthy life. So let's set the stage for this. Most people have emotions when it comes to money: anxiety, fear, worry. Now that we're in January, I promise you, I have heard from more people talking about how getting their credit card statements after the holiday spending, January is a stressful time for them. April's a stressful time. When you get ready to pay your taxes, that's another stressful time. So these 2 months create a lot of anxiety and worry and fear around money. I had somebody bring up about how do you deal with that kind of a pressure to spend a lot at the holidays time. And I said, you first have to recognize where that pressure comes from, where you why you have these feel this pressure. And this was in a shop workshop I did in December. Why do you feel the pressure to spend exorbitant amounts of money on people? Where's that come from? Not that it's wrong. And that's the other thing I probably should have said up front. There are no judgments to anything that people are feeling or experiencing. It's about uncovering them. So, looking at your emotions, knowing that no matter how much you save or try to cut back, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. The emotions are still there. Because here's the truth. Can't change your behaviors if you first don't change the emotions and beliefs you have. This is how your relationship with money is formed. And I'm very specific on this. You have a relationship with money. Just like you have a relationship with friends or your health or everything else in your life, you have a relationship with money. And that is based on the emotions and the beliefs you hold around money. Let's take a moment. Let's see where you are right now. Because before you understand your relationship with money, you need to get an idea of the emotions you hold around it. So when you think about money, I want you to think about money right now. Think about your checkbook. Think about your balance in your bank account. What comes up for you? Now, there's a lot more words that can come up, but this is just a chart that I've come up with to help you start that process. I want you to think about two words that came up for you. And if you're so inclined, you can put it in the chat. But if not, that's okay. These are for you to understand the two words. And this will give you an idea of the beginning of your relationship with money. And then think about, why did you choose those words? What was the importance of them? I know for me, there was a time where I couldn't think about money without feeling anxious. A lot of people feel avoidance when it comes to money. There's a lot of people that aren't even looking at their bank statements right now or their credit card statements because they just don't want to see what they spent it on and how they're doing. So think about those two words that came up for you. Okay. Your relationship with money equals your bank account. And let's talk about a relationship. Think about your friends. When you have friends in your life, if you feel anxious around them, if you feel fearful around them, if you worry about them, if you chase after them, do you have a good friendship with them? Think about your relationships. When you're kind of casual, laid back, people you hang out, you have a great time together, but you don't think about them or worry about them when they're not around. It's a good, healthy relationship. It's the same with money. When you're constantly stressing about it and you're constantly thinking about it and constantly worried and constantly scrambling to hold on to it, you hold on to it so tight, you won't spend a dime. You're so afraid to spend any money. And again, I'm not suggesting you go out and spend everything and whatever. What I'm trying to do is disconnect your current relationship with money where you feel scared of it, you avoid it, you you don't want to deal with it, you feel shame around it, you feel terrible about it. When you have all these emotions around money, it's not going to flow freely into your life. Because here's the other truth. Money is an energy. Money is a construct. At the face of it, money doesn't really even exist. The concept of money was created for the governments to build an economic structure for society. But we have absorbed all this anxiety and stress about money, and we have since then created a very unhealthy relationship with money in our personal lives. The story behind your money mindset. When you think about budgets and incomes and expenses, a lot of people experience stress and anxiety. I don't know if that's true for all of you on this call right now, but when you can understand that this stress and anxiety is what's getting in your way about your relationship with money, you can do something about it. And again, what I'm saying, it's not just a mindset shift, it is a rewrite. It's a rewrite of the emotions, it's a changing of the perspective. Again, perspective is a huge issue in storytelling. Who is telling the story? What is that relationship? When you can update that and shift that, you can shift your relationship with money. Now, this is something that can get in your way. This is where a lot of people get stuck, and that is shifting the familiar habits. When you are reluctant to shift out of the unfamiliar, I've heard so many people say, better the devil we know than the new one that we might bring in. People get comfortable even in their discomfort. It becomes habitual, it becomes familiar. If we want to change our relationship, not only with money, but with anything, you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable with doing something new. You have to get comfortable with even considering the fact that you can have an abundant life. And I want you to know something. I came from very humble beginnings, and if I could change my life around to have the beautiful life I have today, anybody can do it. I want you to be excited about that. So remember, your relationship with money equals your bank account. You won't change any of your habits until you understand this and accept it and bringing it in, because everything after that will change. And here's another truth about that. Your relationship with money is exactly affecting your relationships with your career, with your family and friends, with your health. So when you can change that key relationship with money, it affects everything in your life. In these next slides, we're going to review what actually goes into building your money story. What has happened to help you have you get into your money script? The key to every story is the premise. What's the moral of the story you want to tell? Stories are the linchpin in how we see ourselves with money. Most of the stories you're living today, you've inherited from your friends, from your family. Because if you think about it, when you're born, you're walking into a story that's been running for decades. Your parents are maybe their 20s, their 30s, so they've already have a well-established story and a plan for what life is about. You come in pure, clear, blank slate. So you see their stories that they're living, and then it kicks in your sense of belonging. The way we deal with belonging is we try to be like the people we are. When you're an infant and you're pre-verbal, you immediately want to belong. You have safety and belonging. It's an old brain. It's the amygdala, the monkey brain, the lizard brain kicking in, saying safety and security comes from belonging to this family unit. So you do whatever you can to be a part of that unit, and you accept exactly what they do. Think of it exactly with language. You pick up English. If you're in a different country, you speak that language. It's the first and foremost thing, and we're going to talk a lot about your money language in a minute. So you have your money stories that you've inherited, not only from family, but then you inherit them from society and culture. Then we continue to give those messages to ourselves over time. That affects our belief that we can be abundant. If we have been trained from day one to feel a certain way about money, it affects our belief. It affects our emotions. Now, another layer that comes into play are genders. Women and men are given very different stories about money. Women are undereducated with money. They have a lot of cultural perspectives. And again, I'm going to make some statements that sound like they're blanket statements. There are exceptions to all of this, but women, as a rule, are taught that they just listen to what the primary male figure is in their life and let them control the money. They need to be the nurturers and take care of the family. Don't get messy thinking about money. It's what your father, your husband, your significant other does. Women have a more difficult time asking for a negotiating a salary. Up until 1974, women couldn't even get a credit card in this country. You had to have your father or your husband get the credit cards for you. So that all becomes a part of our inherited stories. Men have a completely different set of issues. They have so much pressure to provide for the family. They have so much pressure to make sure you're a good provider, that you have taken care of your family and you do a good job of it. So men start comparing themselves to see that they're doing a good job in providing for their families. They measure their success on their cars and their homes and the status so that they can feel like they're a good provider. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and a lot of fear if you can't earn or what happens if you need to take time off of work? What happens when it's time to retire? Do you have a good retirement plan? All this pressure rests on the male figure in our lives. It's a lot, and it's so different, and sometimes it seems contradictory, but it's an important message to understand when you start looking at your money stories. And I'm so glad that there's some men that have joined us today because a lot of men don't even want to look at this issue. They're it's like, no, no, no. They're afraid it makes them look weaker. It doesn't. It makes you look stronger when you're vulnerable. And I probably had pushed a few buttons with all these comments, but that's okay. Roll with me on this. We'll get through this. Another clue is how do you respond to money? Again, the emotions we talked about earlier, the fear, the shame. Are you prideful? Do you have a lot of joy? Then you have the practical issues. Women tend to want to save or very cautious, mostly because they're told you have to live within your means. So be careful. Your husband will make that decision, or your significant other, or your father. Men can be more risk takers. They want to get ahead. They tend to take more risks. They're willing to gamble on different things. What's your relationship? Like I said, you had the relations of your family and your caretaking versus partnerships. And how do you feel about going it alone? How do you feel about negotiating salaries or setting fees for your services? As a professional, do you tend to overwork, put in a lot of overtime? I have a friend who calls it the slave driver routine, where you just feel like I've got to work harder and more, and that'll help solve all this stuff. Believe me, it doesn't. We're getting into the somatic responses again. How many of you grind your teeth? How many of you clench your jaw? How many of you have this sinking feeling when it comes to opening those credit card statements? Do you have anxious feelings? Do you have panic attacks, shallow breathing? All of that is a clue that you're in an emotional state. And I want you to recognize these because, again, when we get into some actions you can take, that's going to be important. Then we get into the thing of asking for permission rather than taking charge. Women do that a lot. And then men always, not always. They tend to be competitive and focus on the comparisons of what they have and what they have compared to their families, friends, co-workers, things like that. Again, knowing your responses to money are going to be critical as we move through this. Here is another clue. Your language. As I said before, language is the first thing we adopt when it comes to feeling a sense of belonging with our families, with our society, with our culture. I have a really interesting story. I read it in the paper the other day. There were two brothers in a family business. They both had their respective wives and families, and they had a couple of kids. Well, the one brother and his family would do something special every weekend. They'd go away for a weekend, they'd go to an amusement park, they would do something fun every weekend and really enjoyed the fruits of their labor. I love that, fruits of your labor, another money language one. So one day they were at home, they one of the cousins came over from the other brother's family, and the wife of this other brother came by and said to this family, "What's wrong with you? It's irresponsible to keep doing this every weekend. You should stay at home and do some family stuff at home and not spend so much money and go to all these crazy frivolous activities." And the wife said, "Whoa, okay. See you later." Back off. So the next week, when the cousin came over to play with this woman's son, the little boy, 10 years old, said to his cousin, "You shouldn't go out to play so much. You're being frivolous." Now, what 10-year-old knows what the word frivolous means? I mean, I barely know what it means now. But when you're 10 years old, so you're mimicking the language that you hear. And what he did was he picked up the emotions behind it, and he is putting this out there. So here he is at 10 years old, already thinking about enjoying the fruits of the labor versus telling people you're being irresponsible if you don't spend your money wisely. I mean, spending money wisely, what does that mean? Another language we have to add to this list. Here's another clue. Your avenues for receiving money. Almost everybody is on the employment paycheck. I would say 95% of the planet has received a paycheck or employment for employment. This also includes um, entrepreneurs who have your own business or consultants, 1099. You're getting a paycheck. You're getting reimbursed for a service you provide. Now, when you think about it, money is an exchange of value for value. When you put out a service, you get your paycheck. Another way that's a big way are loans. This is where you get credit cards. This is where you get your mortgages and your car payments, family and gifts. Savings and investments, unfortunately, could be even a little smaller. This is a huge thing. I work with a lot of financial planners who, by the way, love this idea because they also struggle with understanding their client's psychological story relationship to money. And they said if they had a better view of it, their savings and investments could grow. Some people like luck and the lottery and gambling, windfalls and bonuses we all enjoy. These three out here, community, government benefits, and lawsuits, tend to carry a lot of judgments with them. Government benefits, especially. People feel if they're out of work or they've lost their job and they can't collect unemployment, they feel like they've done something bad or wrong. They judge themselves. During COVID, if the government hadn't given the PPP loans, a lot of businesses would have gone under. Now, I know each of these is fraught with chances to abuse it and take problems with it. The government benefits, there were a lot of stories about businesses that didn't really need it, but got millions of dollars from the government to support their organizations. Lawsuits and settlements, a lot of people have judgments on that. I work with several people who have been through bankruptcies, and they really have judgments about that. Bankruptcy is an excellent tool when used wisely. And the scary thing about bankruptcy is I would say over half of them are used because of health expenses. If you have an emergency health issue, so many people go into great debt because insurance won't cover so much. Insurance is an issue that really needs to be solved. But people end up going to bankruptcy because they can't cover the cost of their health insurance. But the key is let's not judge it. Let's be aware of it and see how we feel. Again, this is more clues of where you are with money, not to judge, but to understand and become aware. This is one of my favorite concepts. We all have a money ceiling. Your money ceiling is the limit you will place on how much money you're willing to have in your life. It's composed of your self-worth, what you believe you deserve. And again, if you go back to that first premise of we are born pure, clear, worthy, and deserving, we have forgotten that. And it's time to bring that back to the front. Inherited stories. These are the messages that you've been given. The 10-year-old boy who was talking about frivolity and probably didn't know what it meant. Emotions. I'm going to keep driving this point about the emotions and how you feel around money. Culture and society. This is again the expectations that are put on you, whether you're a male or a female, on how you are supposed to be with money. Your language is the biggest clue to how you feel about it, and the judgments and your comparisons. But one of the linchpins on this whole thing is your identity. How you see yourself when it comes to money is huge. Do you see yourself as a smart money manager? Do you see yourself as somebody who can never figure out money? Do you see yourself as somebody that no matter how much I try, I never seem to be able to get ahead? This is something we need to address. And then my rewritten philosophy, this is where all this information I hope that's been coming up for you in these first slides, this is where it starts to come together for you. In order to rewrite your old stories, in order to change, you have to have awareness. And that's again why I've spent so much of our time together so far, helping you become aware, giving you clues so you can really understand your money story. You can't change something if you don't know it. And so much of what we do is unconscious and subconscious that bringing it to the forefront is very important. Then recognizing that you can do something about this. You can make a change. Believing that is fundamental to being able to shift your story around money. Next, you have to rewrite a story that works for you. What is your new money story that you want? So many times, especially in our competitive, comparison rich world, we think until we have the brand new car and the $50 million home and the travel to the exotic vacations every year, we think that's the life that we have to be going for. But is that the life for you? This is where being aware of what you've been doing and then getting to that, I can leave all the other stuff behind because I now know what works for me. Not to compare to everybody, but what works for you. Make that your goal. What is the story for you? And then what are some new areas of happiness? Some people do love the simple pleasures. Some people really do want to travel to exotic vacations every year. The key thing is we all have our unique gifts, talents, joys, and freedoms. I like it when I meet people that aren't like me. I like it when I meet somebody with a new attitude and a new approach. You know, life is a tapestry. If everybody was the same and wanted the same things, that tapestry would be one color. Having the varieties, having the different things that are available to us. I mean, honestly, I love horses, but I really wouldn't want a horse farm. That's a lot of work. I wouldn't even want to have a farm. There's farmers in my family. They work 24/7, 365. I couldn't do that, but they love it. They love it. Having all these unique skills and talent is critical to embracing what works for you, giving yourself permission to have your avenue of happiness, uncovering it. That's another linchpin in all of this. Shifting perspectives. I told you before we'd talk about perspectives. Perspective is how you see a situation. So here's another little story. Two people are standing on a corner waiting for the light to change. All of a sudden, this car comes crashing through, 100 miles an hour, and the one person says, "What an idiot! He's going to kill somebody." The other person says, "Oh no, they must be in trouble. I hope they're okay. There must have been an emergency in their life. Nobody would drive like that unless it was a serious situation." So one person is looking at it from fear and worry and anger, and another person had kindness and sympathy and empathy for what might have been going on. That's perspective. And perspective comes from the emotions and beliefs that you hold. So when you can shift that perspective and see things in a different way or look at it from a new set of eyes, that is another way you'll start making changes. And again, another key thing is getting comfortable with change. I like to tell people to practice doing something different. If you're used to going to Starbucks every morning and ordering a latte, okay, don't give up your Starbucks, but maybe get a mocha instead of a latte. Or if you like to have a salad for lunch every day, maybe one day go and get a burger and bite into that big old cheeseburger and enjoy it with gusto. But do something different every day. Find a new way to drive to your office. Take the highway instead of back roads. Take back roads instead of the highway. Get comfortable with change. And I know these sound ridiculously funny, but it's true. We live, there's so much going on in our worlds today, and there's so much uncertainty that we go on autopilot and we just plow through the day. Take one day a week and not plow through it. Sleep in, get up early, find a fun way to disrupt the patterns of your life. Get comfortable with that. Key practices. Okay. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is for yourself. I believe we should practice forgiveness every day. Forgiveness sets you free, and especially when it comes to your money stories. Forgive yourself for the stupid, ridiculous things you've done with money. I'm going to raise my hand. I have done some really ridiculous stuff with money. I thought I was 40 years ago. I had a quick get rich quick scheme and I threw $10,000 at it and lost it all. And I think about that and it's like, oh God, I'm mortified that I did that. That's where I was in life. Forgive me. I forgive myself for that. Now I can laugh about it. It's like, boy, that wasn't the smartest thing you ever did, Care. But I did it. I learned from it. Because once you learn from these things, money can keep flowing in. You don't have to worry about losing money. You'll never get it again. That's a scarcity and a lack mentality that you're going to lose it and then never have any money. If they have it, you won't be able to have it. Not true. So forgiveness breaks that cycle. When you forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made, and I promise you, you've made them, it breaks the cycle. Gratitude. Gratitude is miracles in action. Take a moment right now and just feel grateful for something. Feel grateful for this beautiful day. If you're in a beautiful part of the country or grateful for snow, I'd like to see some snow. I get tired of sunshine all the time. But feel gratitude and you just feel your whole body relaxes. Gratitude is another one of those gifts. I encourage you to start paying attention to the language and the words you use. Again, this will identify your scarcity and lack stories. We all have some kind of scarcity and lack belief. Your language and your words help that, show that. I mean, not help it, they show it. And listening to your body signals. Here's something that when I said before, listening to your body signals and the language and the words you can use. I'm a big believer in micro moments of change, and your body signals are the first clue for your micro moment of change. And you get the credit card statement, you go, that's a somatic body response. When that happens, instead of continuing on, stop, take a breath, and make a choice in that moment to respond differently. I'm going to look at this credit card statement and know that I can handle whatever is on that statement. Maybe I overspent. I know I can handle it because that body signal tells you the lizard brain, your amygdala is fired and you're getting ready for the fight or flight mode. The fight or flight mode creates chemicals. It releases endorphins and things in your body. What happens is your brain gets addicted to these endorphins. And so it keeps creating these anxiety situations for you where you, when you're in that space, you can't respond from a place of an adult person who knows about life. So when you have that body response, when you're clenching your teeth, take a moment and trust yourself. Know that you can handle whatever is on that paper or in that file. Then when you start doing this, you're rewiring your brain. Every time you stop the amygdala from firing by breathing and taking a moment, you get a new set of purpose and rewire your brain to have a new relationship with money. Image shift. This is your identity. Start seeing yourself as somebody who has a great relationship with money. Sounds simple, but boy, it works. Own your success without apology. It's your success. And for everyone on the call, ask for help. Help is important. And if you don't want to call it help, ask for support. Hey, I'm having a rough moment here. I can't get out of my monkey brain. What do I do? Snap that, break that pattern right away. And then we're going to take some actions. Now it's time, now that you understand and you've dealt with your relationship with money, now you can work on your budget and work on your planning and not have that anxiety and stress come up. And take inspired actions. What do I mean by inspired actions? Inspired actions are when you know without a doubt you have to call that person, go to that party, do something. And it turns out that that's where you met your partner, that's where you bought the right lottery ticket and won. I mean, the inspired actions are when you get a feeling, again, getting into your body gives you a lot of clues. Getting into that feeling that you're on the right track and you are going to make a difference. Trust it. Take that action. Make a solid plan for growing your wealth by hiring an advisor, educating yourself. There's so many things online now where you can educate yourself about money. Do it. Hire a trusted advisor. It changes everything. And then what new financial habits can you incorporate that would stick? Again, this is knowing your story. What do you want with your relationship with money? And then what financial habits can you incorporate? Do you want to start saving 10% of your income every time you get a payment? Do you want to start saving aside for an investment plan? Take take these steps. They can be small. They can be small. I tend to when I spend a $20 bill and I still work with cash, even though most people don't, I take all the change from it and I put it in a pocket or I put it in a drawer. And over time, I did it the other day and I had like $400 in there from all the change from all the $20 bills. I had no idea, but it feels like a good little trick and a gift with money. Look for things like that. And again, reach out to me. I have a lot more of these little tricks for taking small, bold steps that show you what an abundant person you are. You'll see your savings grow. You'll see your whole life shift. And practice gratitude. Can't stress that one enough. thought about affirmations and positive thinking. They're perfect, they're great, but make sure you look at the emotions and belief underneath them. Okay, I want to take you on a very, very quick visualization exercise. So, do me a favor, close your eyes or not, you can listen any way you want. And I just want you to picture yourself standing at the edge of your day. So you're in the middle of your day. You're either in your office, your home, you're doing something, you're moving through your day. Maybe you're even just having a cup of coffee. Notice the thoughts and reactions you're having in your daily life, what they mean for you. Now I want you to just look up from where you are. Look up at the ceiling and see, huh, there's a door up on that ceiling. Where the heck that come from? That door is the opening to your comfort zone. It is the step into a new reality with money, a new relationship with money. It's a way to step into the next chapter. So it's right there for you. It's a way to get out of your comfort zone. Hmm. So what does it feel like to reach up? Reach your hand up there. What does it feel like? What emotion rises when you think about opening that door and stepping through it? Are you excited? Are you resistant? Do you really not want to step through? Think about that. That door is there. We don't see it, but that door out of your comfort zone and into a new relationship with money is there. Take a deep breath and come on back. That was just a quick little GPS moment to see where you are in your relationship with money. Okay, that's what I had for today, but I wanted to tell you Money Rewritten is about writing your relationship, creating a relationship with money that you want on your terms. So, question for you. What is one step you're ready to take today? One step. And then I want you to think about I'm having a 5-day money challenge in February. So, February 2nd through the 6th, every morning for 1 hour, we are going to go deep into each of these aspects I talked about today and start rewriting them. So, in other words, when we look at language, we'll actually come up with new words to use so you feel you have a way to move forward with changing your money story. We'll look at um, any other planning you can do to add to your money story. So if because you attended today, I'm giving you a 15% discount on it if you register by January 20th. So copy the code. I'm going to be sending this out to each of you um, following this after it what do they do? They convert it. They have to do some kind of work with converting it on Zoom. As soon as I get that done, I will be sending this link to all of you to go and see the replay of this. And if you want, you'll have the code then, but the code is W4UXYF. So join the seminar, join the 5-day challenge. I promise you, you'll walk away with even more information and a way to um, have a deeper, more successful relationship with money. Really grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to stop recording and stop sharing so that if you want to ask any questions or talk about anything that came up for you, you can.